Welcome to the Sonoma County Library video channel. We post new videos every week, so bookmark, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Hi everyone, my name is Miss Kim from the Sonoma County Library, and welcome to Book Read-Alouds at Home. Get comfortable and get ready to listen to a chapter book a week read out loud to you. Feel free to check out the ebook from our library website, sonomalibrary.org, so you can follow along, or just relax, close your eyes, and listen. Now, grab your pillow, grab your blanket, get comfortable. Chapter 13. Your control panel is marvelously complex. Some of the highest technology I've ever seen in a cyborg. Dr. Erlin spun the hologram one way and then the other. And look at this wiring along your spine. It melds almost perfectly with your central nervous system. Pristine workmanship. Ah, and look here, he pointed to the holograph's pelvis. Your reproductive system is almost untouched. You know, lots of female cyborgs are left infertile because of the invasive procedures, but from the looks of it, I don't suspect you will have any problems. Cinder sat on the exam table, chin settled atop both palms. Lucky me. The doctor wagged a finger at her. You should be grateful your surgeons took such care. I'm sure I'll feel much more grateful when I find a guy who thinks complex wiring in a girl is a turn-on. She kicked her heels against the metal base of the table. Does this have anything to do with my immunity? Maybe, maybe not. The doctor took a pair of spectacles from his pocket and slid them onto his face, still staring at the holograph. Cinder tilted her head. Don't they pay you enough for corrective eye surgery? I like the way these feel. Dr. Erlin dragged the holograph down, revealing the inside of Cinder's head. Speaking of eye surgery, do you realize you're missing tear ducts? What? Really? And I thought I was just emotionally withdrawn. She pulled her feet up, hugging her knees. I'm also incapable of blushing, if that's what's going to be your next brilliant observation. He turned around, his eyes magnified behind the spectacles. Incapable of blushing? How so? My brain monitors my body temperature, forces me to cool down if I get too warm, too fast. I guess just sweating like a normal human being wasn't enough. Dr. Erlin pulled his port screen out, punched something in. That's really quite smart, he muttered. They must have been worried about your system overheating. Cinder strained her neck, but couldn't see the little screen on his port. Is that important? He ignored her. And look at your heart, he said, gesturing at the holograph again. These two chambers are made primarily of silicon, mixed with biotissue. Amazing. Cinder pressed her hand against her chest. Her heart, her brain, her nervous system. What hadn't been tampered with? Her hand moved to her neck, tracing the ridges of her spine as her gaze traveled over the metal vertebrae, those metallic invaders. What's this? She asked, stretching forward and pointing at a shadow on the diagram. Ah, yes, my assistants and I were discussing that earlier. Dr. Erlin scratched his head through the hat. It looks to be made of a different material than the vertebrae, and it's right over the central cluster of nerves. Perhaps it was meant to correct a glitch? Cinder wrinkled her nose. Great, I have glitches. Has your neck ever bothered you? Only when I've been under a hover all day. And when I'm dreaming. In her nightmares, the fire always seemed to be hottest beneath her neck, the heat trickling down her spine, the unrelenting pain like a hot coal had gotten beneath her skin. She shuddered, remembering Peony in last night's dream, crying and screaming, blaming Cinder for what had become of her. Dr. Erlin was watching her, tapping his port screen against his lips. Cinder squirmed. I have a question. Yes, said the doctor, pocketing the screen. You said before that I wasn't contagious after my body got rid of those microbes. That's correct. So, if I had contracted the plague naturally, say a couple of days ago, how long before I was no longer contagious? Dr. Erlin puckered his lips. Well, one can imagine that your body is more efficient at ridding itself of the carriers every time it comes in contact with them. So if it took 20 minutes to defeat them all this time, I think it would have taken no longer than an hour the time before that. 2 at the most. Hard to say, of course, given that every disease in everybody works a little differently. Cinder folded her hands in her lap. It had taken a little more than an hour to walk home from the market. What about, can it cling to, say, clothing? Only briefly. The pathogens can't survive long without a host. He frowned at her. Are you all right? She fiddled with the fingers of her glove, nodded. When do we get to start saving lives? Dr. Erlin adjusted his hat. I'm afraid we can't do much until I've had a chance to analyze your blood samples and map your DNA sequencing. But first, I wanted to get a better grasp on your body makeup, in case it could affect the results. Being a cyborg can't change your DNA, can it? No, but there have been studies suggesting that human bodies develop different hormones, chemical imbalances, antibodies, that sort of thing, as a result of the operations. Of course, the more invasive the procedure, the more... You think it has something to do with my immunity? Being cyborg? The doctor's eyes glowed. Giddy, unnerving Cinder. Not exactly, he said, but like I said before, I do have a theory or two. Were you planning on sharing any of those theories with me? Oh yes, once I know I am correct, I plan on sharing my discovery with the world. In fact, I have had a thought about the mystery shadow on your spine. Would you mind if I tried something? He took off the spectacles and slid them back into his pocket beside the port screen. What are you going to do? Just a little experiment, nothing to be worried about. She twisted her head as Dr. Erlin walked around the table and placed the tips of his fingers on her neck, pinching the vertebrae just above her shoulders. She stiffened at the touch. His hands were warm, but she shivered anyways. Tell me if you feel anything unusual. Cinder opened her mouth, about to announce that any human touch felt unusual, but her breath hiccuped. Fire and pain ruptured her spine, flooding her veins. She cried out and fell off the table, crumpling to the floor. End of chapter 13.
Thank you everyone for joining me. Check back weekly for more Read-Alouds. We'll have new ones posted every week. And be sure to check out our website, sonomalibrary.org, for up-to-date resources and information. We miss you all. Stay safe. And remember, make reading a part of every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. And have fun with it.